Okay, so we are at Green Bean Cafe. This is down near the university. Who's we? We is myself for the WO blog, and Mita Williams. Mita works at the Leddy Library and has a pretty big event coming up, and I'd like you to quickly tell people it's Change Camp, but it's an unconference, and I think that confuses people right away. Give them some sense of what the heck this thing is going to be. It's at the library, downtown, Central Library, and it's like an all-day thing on May 8th.
That's right.
What are they going to expect, aside from pillars of the community?
Well, there's two things to it. It's the Windsor Essex Change Camp, and it's an unconference, and the way to think of it is an uncamp. Let's forget about the unconference at the beginning.
Okay.
It's a gathering of people around one question. The question is, how can we reimagine Windsor, Essex as a more vibrant and stronger community? So it's a face-to-face gathering, it's nonpartisan, and it's socially mediated, which means we want people to bring, their iPhones and laptops if they want to. If not, they don't need to. They can come by, because the most important thing is just a face-to-face connection and having great conversations about, what can we do right now amongst ourselves to, how can we reimagine Windsor as a better place?
That's the key question.
How
Reimagining Windsor as a whole, like all kinds of things. Potentially the discussions could be about bikes in the city. It could be about, like you said, food tourism. It could be about connecting to government from home and having a better idea of things going on in the community. It's like any number of topics could come up.
Exactly. That's where the unconference part comes in, because an unconference is different than a regular conference where you have experts and there's an audience, and then you ask a couple people, that you ask the person a question, but the only time you can really get to talk to the person beside you about what happened is that coffee break. And my favorite definition of an unconference is it's all coffee break. It's all peer-to-peer conversations, and so we don't know what we're going to talk about when we're in the room. All we know is that's the question. We know that this is a question that people are really passionate about, that they want to spend an entire Saturday about. But when they come into the room, they're like, we don't know whether they want to talk about maybe improving education or improving government access to information, or whether they're really interested in food or small business. We don't know. We know that there are people who are interested in those things that are coming. And what an unconference will be is that's what we're going to do. One of the first things we'll do after introductions is making the schedule for the day.
So someone might say, I think the key to the city is a vibrant downtown, which means we need lower property taxes because they're the highest in the country to encourage small business. How do we make that happen? And that could be a suggestion. It doesn't necessarily mean that will be a talk or that will be a discussion. It kind of goes up on like a board in the front, and people can decide what they want to participate in, and certain topics will live on to be discussed throughout the day. And then who knows, you actually make connections with people you never knew cared about the stuff, or you never knew that's what their job was specifically tailored to, and you can, hopefully make an actual change. That's
the goal. And if people aren't, I don't want to scare off people who aren't socially mediated and social networking.
People who aren't on Twitter, right? They hear this stuff and they think, so I have to be using that stuff to show up to one of these things.
You know what our biggest tool is? We're going to be there. We're going to have lots of colored paper. We're going to have markers.
You're from a library.
We're going to have 3x5 index cards. That's very important. Write down ideas. Lots of stickers. That's lots of names. Lots of paper, so we can write things down, share ideas. And you're right, we can have very specific questions, but we can have really broad questions like, what would bring you downtown, or what would you like a festival about?
Yes.
That sort of thing. Really awaken the creativity in the room.
So again, this is kind of open to anybody. Like, it doesn't cost anything.
It's absolutely free.
And people can register online, and particularly, like, today is Tuesday. If I can get this together by Wednesday, you want people responding by Wednesday at noon to get a free lunch at this event.
That's right.
But they can come even if they don't register by Wednesday.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of people who said, they're just not able to register, and they're not sure that they can register, but after Wednesday, it's definitely, people can register, they can just drop by. We really want as many people to participate as possible.
And it's one day, and it's for people who care, right? Who who maybe aren't necessarily happy with the way things are going, or who are happy with the way things are going, and just wanting to encourage people to connect on a bigger level to get more of these things happening. It's serving as a very multi-functioning connecting. I think in connecting being the key, right? Like, you have a sense that it's gonna form alliances and friendships and relationships that will do things later on. Maybe in 2 years. Maybe. Now, have you seen this happen at other events?
Yeah.
Is that why?
What happens is that once a community usually has an end conference or has a change camp, other people get aware of it. They understand it's a great way of bringing people together. And so, for example, in Edmonton, they had a transit camp where people were really interested in making, their city transit more accessible, and using social tools to, make it better. And then they had an unconference about Change Camp, and then they'll have other unconferences that have come from there. So it can build on that. As I said, there's a growing momentum, and what's really great about, I'm kind of interested in the open government, open data side.
Yes.
And what's neat is that some of the stuff that's been built with other change camps, something that works for the City of London, because there's a change camp that's happening in London, there's a change camp that's in the works for Sault Ste. Marie in London.
Yes.
And there's been existing change camps in Toronto and Vancouver. Things that are built from those change camps, if they build a great application for, a website that helps you find a dog park,
They might share it.
They might share it. And so, and an application that works well for Windsor or something like that can be shared as well. So it's local, but it's part of something that's also quite large.
Are things like this happening in the States, like in Detroit? Like, I know you go to things in Detroit, these kinds of conferences, or I don't know, unconferences, but there's this kind of connecting happening over there a lot, it seems. And I don't know, it's like,
yep.
Why is it taking so long for it to happen here, do you think?
I think people are it's one of these
ideas.
ideas.
Is it the technology side?
It's like an idea. Once you get it, it becomes infectious, and sometimes you just have to have a kind of a physical contact to try it. So I wasn't sure about unconferences until I went to one.
What one did you go to?
I went to it was called That Camp. It was Digital Humanities Camp, and it was That Camp Great Lakes, and it was at Michigan State. Was
it recent?
It was some months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so once you've gone to one and you see it work, then you want to make another one happen. Detroit, they've had things like Ignite, which are these, the 20 very short slides, very fast ideas.
Yeah.
They've had the TED Detroit, the TED Lansing, the TED Ann Arbor, and all those sort of things. So I really think that the ideas are just literally traveling person to person, and that's what's really neat. That's how it's been growing.
Well, it's here now. This is the person-to-person invitation to go to this thing.
Yep.
Of course, this is for the Downtown blog. People with downtown issues or ideas, of which there are many floating around, could come out and float these ideas, or at least have them sussed out, have someone who has some know-how actually give those ideas or those concepts some vetting and realistic overviews that they didn't have. It's only something that they've talked about over coffee. So for the people watching this right now at home or wherever they are, how can they go to this thing? How can they participate? Is there going to be an online portion?
Yeah, what we're hoping, so the event will happen in the Fred Israel Auditorium in the basement of the Central Library at the Windsor Public Library, May 8th. It's on Saturday, and it starts at 9. And we're going AM, I know. And we're going to try to put as much content as the event goes on online, and we're going to definitely make some sort of attempts to try to capture some of the ideas and put them online as well. And hopefully, through comments, maybe the ideas can be built from there as well.
And we have like 30 seconds. How can they register?
They can register at wechangecamp.ca.
Wechangecamp.ca.
That's
Very
correct.
simple.
Yeah.
And, well, thanks, Mita.
Thank you.
I was supposed to be out of town for this, but I think I'm excited
All right.
to maybe be there.
That's
so
awesome.
Thank you for having it. And everybody, now you know this is Mita, and if you see her around, you can, she's interested in these kinds of ideas, and you can maybe encourage her to do another one in a year or so. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Come down here for coffee, too. It's nice. The students are gone.